The year was 1888, when Queen Victoria travelled north to Scotland and up the River Clyde to Glasgow, trekking up the hills to West End's Kelvingrove Park, site of that year's Glasgow International Exhibition, a park named after 18th century University of Glasgow scientist Kelvin, perhaps glancing at his glass instruments, instrumental in discoveries launching the Industrial Revolution. Proceeds from the event funded the construction of Glasgow's Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum, now featuring work displayed during the event. As does the Hunterian Museum up the hill from Kelvingrove, named after physician William Hunter, a colleague of Kelvin's and Adam Smith's. These collections, initially close to the River Clyde, were moved in 1870 to the West End with the University of Glasgow, which had been founded in 1451. The vast collections shed light on a pivotal point of time in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, where Scottish science and art joined forces to launch a modern movement embraced and shared worldwide. The Hunterian Museum exemplifies the teamwork that goes behind illuminating windows throughout history with a science on how to exhibit museology. Following one display exercise, I researched the Shepherdess watercolor design by E.A. Taylor, intended for a stained glass window in Glasgow. The backstory was offered in London-based journal The Studio, which outlined Taylor's appreciation of the subtleties of color in the fields, the woods, and the wild things that was so powerfully to influence the artist's life and work. Hello, I've just come down from a library, I think 14 stories high, that had archives from the 1700s. I was able to see a letter written from Adam Smith to David Hume with the sealing wax still intact, and letters from Adam Smith to his mother. Very nicely written, few errors here and there, and also notebooks from his students taking lecture notes from rhetoric. Quite the treasure on the 12th floor of the library. The Burrell collection features rooms and rooms of antique glass, primarily from other countries, as much of the glass from the Middle Ages was destroyed in Scotland during the Reformation, and sadly, yet another revolution led to the demise of Glasgow's architectural treasures during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Innovative engineering and transport led to the demolition of row houses, intricately decorated of red and gold sandstone, by craftsmen shown in glass performing their trades and walks of life.
Boar and bears were hunted only by royals and nobles in land set aside just for them. On the right, we can see hunters riding on horseback. Their hounds, specially trained dogs, drive the stags towards the river.
The Willow Tea Room, an innovative gathering place, was built by Kate Cranston in partnership with her brother Stuart, a tea importer in 1894. The tea house was decorated by Charles Rennie Mackintosh and his wife Margaret MacDonald with glass panels and furniture. This was only a few years after suffrage was passed in Scotland, and women were offered degrees at Scottish universities. Much of the wealth in Glasgow was tied to transport, in tandem with slavery the century before. This occurred indirectly through the owners of plantations of tea and tobacco, who were dependent on foreign production and imports back to Scotland, with profits flowing into the merchant district of Glasgow, home to the Willow Tea Room. The Scottish £20 note features entrepreneur Kate Cranston to this day. Edinburgh was lovely. Pictures don't do it justice. The rustling of the leaves and slight breeze, view of the water and sun shining on hills afar, looking down on a beautiful city more colorful than Paris, Denver, DC, or Königswinter, not unlike Glasgow from the library perch of the archive room.